Richard, how has Portland maintained this pace out west without those two key pieces?
Well, first, I want to give credit to Dame Lillard. Dame Lillard is your favorite basketball player's favorite basketball player. That's who Dame Lillard is, right? He is a guy that all of us enjoy watching. We enjoy his approach to the game. We've enjoyed it since the beginning, since his rookie year. But also, it's been Gary Trent Jr., who's been playing great, stepping in for C.J. McCollum. And then also, Enes Kanter has helped fill that middle with no Nurkic. So sometimes other guys have to step up. And Enes Kanter has been rebounding the ball like a monster since he's been kind of pushed into the lineup. And then Gary Trent Jr. has been playing great. So Dame has always led the way, but he's also had help from other guys on their, kind of in their secondary group, step up to fill in those gaps.
Yeah, I think Carmelo, you got to give a hats off to him. You know, he's a veteran, but the leadership, that's what I credit it to. The Carmelo Anthony leadership. It reminds me of like we talked about before Chauncey and the Clippers. When I went to Washington, I wasn't the player I was before, but I felt like I brought them that leadership, a guy down the stretch you can go to, and that's what Carmelo has done for them. And then can we start giving Dame some MVP credit? I mean, come on. He's without C.J. McCollum, who clearly was having an all-star year. This guy has to be one of the most underrated basketball players over the last 5-6 years. I mean, for what he's done for the city of Portland. I mean, what more do you want this guy to do? And then he's like, I don't want to go be on a super team. I don't want to team up.
But now be careful with that. See, I always so Giannis said the same thing. He doesn't want to go nowhere, but guys can come play there. Like, see, like Dame is like, if y'all want to come to Portland, cool.
That's cool.
But like, I'm not going to leave and go.
I'm not.
So he's not anti-super team.
No,
he's just anti-leaving to go to a super team.
Do you know what Damian Lillard is in favor of? Super max, which is what he got to stay there as well. And you're right about Melo, Paul. The last 6 games for Carmelo in particular, effective as ever for the 10-time All-Star. Increased his scoring margin by more than 7 a game if you compare it to the same stretch from before, right? Earlier in the season.
OG Melo in the house.
Take the old bones a little bit of time to get warmed up.
It take about 30 games.
I
remember when I got up there, it took me about 30 games to get ready. I'm not gonna lie.
And we now welcome in our senior NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj, you've talked to the Blazers front office. To what have they attributed Portland's success despite all the injuries they've had to overcome?
Rachel, I talked to Neil Olshey, Portland's president, today, and listen, he had hoped that he had built a roster that was as deep as they've had in Portland in his time there, and that it could possibly sustain injuries or in a season with soft tissue injuries, COVID issues, and it's done just that. I mean, the Blazers are 15-10. They're 5th in the West. They've beaten the Sixers twice in the last week, and that's without C.J. McCollum, who had been having his best NBA season, probably was headed to the All-Star game with the kind of start he had. Obviously, the loss of their 2 big men, Nurkic and Zach Collins. But Carmelo Anthony, Rachel, his second year in Portland, and listen, you've seen and you detailed the offensive production you've seen from him in this stretch, almost 23 points a game to keep this team winning here in the last week and a half. But Neil really pointed to his leadership and the role he's played in that locker room with vets, with young players. It reminds him of when he was the GM of the Clippers and they brought Chauncey Billups into LA. And, Chris Paul was the face of that franchise. He was the leader. And he sees the similarities with Dame Lillard, where if nothing else, it takes some of the day-to-day pressure off of Lillard to have Carmelo's presence around there. And certainly Dame's the guy they're going to count on to win games, to continue to be the guy. But just the respect he commands, how he works with their coaches, in that locker room, that's been a part of it, I think, beyond the production that Portland has loved having Carmelo Anthony, and he's played a big role in a team that's going to get those players back, presumably sometime after that midseason break. And then you've got a Portland team, when healthy, that is, we all expected, is going to be a really tough out in the Western Conference.
Look, any comparison to Chauncey Billups in the leadership category, that is high praise indeed. Thank you so much, Woj. If you guys want more Woj out there, and who doesn't, you can catch the Woj Pod wherever you listen to podcasts. There's some great stuff on the feed right now. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.